National Fire Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters. If you're tuning in, you'll see I have a new little thing going on here with the AirPods. I tried it on my last podcast and I liked it, so I'm like, let's see if it works again today. So we'll see how far it goes if I have to switch to, going back to my DJ styles. If you're listening, you're like, why is this dude even talking about what he's wearing? Because I can't see him. I'm in my car. Also, too, if you are in your car and you're watching on YouTube, because I know a lot of you do that, do not watch the screen, watch the road. That's my driver safety message for 2025. There'll be no more driver safety messages in the podcast. But I'm so excited to get to introduce my guest today because she and I have been friends. I don't even know. It's one of those people that I met along the road, the journey that was kind of like that outward journey of PIP and 555ing and all those things. And I couldn't even tell you how. I know we met physically at FDIC. I don't know if we knew each other prior to that, or I made it a point to stop in and see her when she was there. And since then, we've just stayed in contact. Again, kind of like Aussie Gerard, where like we're not up each other's butts every other day of the week. Like, how are you? Let's take selfies and let's go live and let's do these things. Even though she runs a not-for-profit and we were both in that genre for a while when I was involved in it. I think we did have a little more crossover pollination then than since the podcast. But it's just one of those great people who's just been a good light in my life. And I can't thank her enough for that. So Amanda Marsh from the Eric Marsh Foundation, welcome to the Size Up. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well.
That is awesome. Like, again, I said it before, but you've just been one of those steady lights in my life on social media where, and let's not, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The years that we've known each other, we've both gone through different things and we've sort of lived them out on social media, with just sharing our stories. And I think we kind of have that little bit in common, right?
Yeah, social media has been such a gift in its own way, because I've been able to help a lot of people by sharing my journey. And I always tell people that if my journey is just for me, I don't want that journey because then it's not useful. I would rather have the journey, go through all the stuff, come out the other side and be able to pull people along with me. And I've seen that from you too on your socials.
It's God, I've never looked at pulling people along with you. You know what I mean? And for you, it's not even pulling people along with you. It's pulling them out of a place that they never thought they would be in, right? Just the same as you. You never thought you would be in this place that fate put you into, all those years ago. But to be able to help others, it's that initial calling, that initial calling that Eric and the team had, that I have to help others, and you, in no way did you ever think you'd be doing something like that. I know that for sure, right?
Not even a little bit. When Yarnell happened, when the boys were killed, I was working in farriery. So I was working on horses' hooves. And I had a couple of small articles done about me and my business to promote my business. And that was the extent of how I was out there in the world. I had only come to Facebook on my private page maybe a year before. And I just really wasn't out there in a very meaningful way publicly at all. And so that's been part of the journey too, is just becoming more comfortable with myself in that world, and being able to share the story is so valuable and impactful. In fact, I made a post on our Facebook this morning, and man, there's two guys on there talking about PTSD and how it's affected them, and they're sharing together. And I'm just like, this is exactly what I mean. Like, this is exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Bringing people out of the darkness and into a light place.
It's so amazing too with all the negativity on social media these days and that kind of a thing. That is one of the reasons why I as much as I should keep posting positivity, I kind of stay away from it. But wait, real quick sidebar. I knew nothing about horses until I met this lady, and she has, without her knowledge, educated me on horses, and Tracy included, because we were out at her ranch and we learned a whole boatload about horses that day. So horses are her life. We'll get into horses later for sure.
Yes.
But to know that you were working as a farrier, reshoeing horses prior to all that, city boy from New Jersey who now lives in horse country, New Jersey. But only thing I learned about horses is from Amanda. So thank you for all of that. Aside from betting on them, is the only thing I probably knew prior.
Part of the journey.
Right? But to know, like you said, you made that post today, and now you have two other people who may have never had contact with each other ever, more than likely ever any chance, just helping each other out from a very simple post you did. And that's what I love about social media still.
Yeah, social media can be damaging, and social media can be incredibly not damaging. And I choose to use my social media in a non-damaging way. I want to lift people up and help people and not create further problems for anyone. In my entire life, that's how I want to be. And so certainly that's reflected in our social.
It's interesting because I used to say I was like that in my life. Like, I'm here to lift other people up. And I found myself falling into, many years ago, this is now, but that sort of keyboard cowboy way of responding to folks that maybe I didn't like. And it came early on with 555, where we sort of decided we weren't going to do that, my partner and I, because it was just the two of us then still when we figured this one out. And I've tried to stick to that tenet, now many years later. I don't even know. I should really know this. 12 years later, of some days I even still type messages and then I read them again, and I'm like, nope, not going to send that. Like,
that's wisdom. I think that's wisdom. And I have not always been that way. And I had to call a friend this morning and say, hey, I need to talk through something with you before I send a text message, and react in a way that maybe is positive. And it was actually a blessing because my girlfriend was able to say, hey, I want you to kind of consider this. And I was like, okay, I completely missed that in this situation. And I was really grateful that I had taken that pause. The pause is so important. And I didn't always do that. And I certainly didn't always do that on social media. More so my private social media. I got too engaged in different things. And it was stupid. It was like you expend energy that you don't have to expend, And I realized what the cost of that is.
it's so real, right? The cost of that is so real because it sends you into that spiral, like almost to not coin the term, but like the snowball effect.
Yeah.
And that pause, and even so, like it's so easy in text messaging. Like there's so many times, running the not-for-profit taught me this for sure, that I was involved in a text conversation with someone, and then I just got to the point where I was like, I'm going to call them. We need to talk this out because typing it out is not working at all. And it's the same for interpersonal relationships as well.
Yeah, I think that just all comes with growing up and having wisdom and the experience of all of it, knowing what it feels like, one way versus another. And yeah, good for you. I keep moving along that path as well. Good stuff.
It's hard. It's hard though, because we are in this, look, my phone's right here. We are in this text community where I get so much work done texting with people, but there's some times where it's just not going to work, especially in the negative type of an end.
Oh, and also I love jumping on a call with people when it's important stuff. Even if it's 10 minutes. Yeah, sending texts is good when you're trying to deliver information. Like here's an episode of a podcast you should listen to, or here's my email, or here's a website, or here's my website, or that kind of stuff. But when it comes to learning about each other and finding out if it's a good fit for each other or information is important, it's just so good to jump on a phone call. I think we forget that in this day and age. That we
totally do. totally do. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my boys that, especially the freshmen in high school, where I'm like, buddy, sometimes you just got to talk to your friends. Like he's been, I'll knock on whatever I can knock on around here, fortunate to not have gone down any roads that it mattered, let's say. But I'm like, buddy, sometimes you just got to call people, and he is fortunate to have some good mentors in the entertainment industry now that have been working with him. And although they do text, when they're having like a session or there's something happened, they're jumping on a Zoom or a call to kind of talk him through. So he has those folks ahead of him kind of giving him the tools that he needs.
Yep. That's really great. Mentors are so valuable. I have
Yeah.
mentors as well.
I think we all do, right? And I don't know. So recurring theme on the Size Up podcast in the past few episodes has kind of been like how we were raised versus how we're raising the generation now. And I really have to get my dad on this to ask him some of these questions. But like, I don't think my parents thought I needed mentors outside of them. When I was a freshman in high school or younger, or even probably now, I think they don't think I need mentors. Whereas we look at life totally differently now.
Yep. If my parents were in the room with me, I would say to them in this moment, I'd be like, work was my mentor. And it's true. Digging post holes on our property, feeding our animals, taking care of our house, doing laundry, folding laundry. I mean, we had chores. We had a lot of chores. We worked. We mowed the lawn. We cleaned out the garage. I mean, we had list chores that we had to do because of how we lived. And I didn't grow up in the city. I didn't grow up super rural, but I also didn't grow up in the city. And so I had more of that kind of childhood, which is really the way I live today. And I'm so grateful because when the chips are down or when things are great, it's like I want to go out there and do the things that I know how to do and have been doing since I was like 3 years old.
And that work ethic that you learned when you were so young by doing all those things, it carries you through life. I am the exact opposite. I didn't really do chores or mow the lawn. I was the third surprise baby, so I was the golden child. We didn't have to do things like that. I didn't have to do things like that. I can admit that now, way later in life. I also can admit I was a mistake, not a surprise. So, you figure these things out in life, and I am not, I do see the farm kids that go to school with my boys. They do way more of that type of work than, folks who are not don't raise farm kids. But we have, and more my wife than me, just because that's the way life goes here. The boys do their own laundry. The little one doesn't fold his clothes yet, but he puts them away, but like simple things, it's not like we have a chore chart where they're getting these prizes, but it's like, boys, we got to take the recycling out or bring the recycling cans in, or, hey, a tree fell, who wants to learn how to use a chainsaw with dad today? And they're out there, going to work with it. So, but I think having that type of work ethic, and I did do some things when I was a kid, like not totally bashing my parents and my raising or anything. But when you can instill the importance of those things and that you need to do them in life and you need to make time for them, right? Because that's our hardest part now. And in our age, I feel like is time is just not on our side.
Sure. Yeah, it happens. Like yesterday, I got home. I was dog tired. And I had stuff to do, so I did my stuff and didn't feel like I had enough time in the day, probably, and did all the things I needed to do and made the coffee before bed so that it was ready to get, the button press this morning when we woke up, and still, did all those things and then crashed out. Woke up this morning to be here.
And that's it, right? And we're back at it again, right? That's what I feel like my life is, like that rinse, recycle, repeat type thing.
Yep.
But as long as I'm continuing to be positive about my life and positive about the things I'm doing, even when the negative comes,
Sure.
I know I found that happiness. And I don't think when I met you, I thought I knew what that really meant. But now, so many years later, I really feel like I know what that meant. And I'm excited to see what it means to me in the next 10 years, right?
That'll be good. I think presence for me, it's like being present in every moment. But I'm so present in each moment every day that I struggle with plans. So like if we're going on a trip, I literally don't pack until it's dark the night before. And then I'm
That's
like,
not a
oh
bad thing.
crap. Yeah, I don't have any shorts, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. That's a real problem too, because I can't see too far in front of me. So that hopefully that kind of gets a little bit better as I get a little older. But yeah, presence for me, just really being in the moment, that consistency of doing the things. It's like doing the dishes and not being bitter about it, and feeding the dogs, not being bitter about it.
You could be bitter about it. You could be bitter about doing the dishes. So you definitely I'm bitter
Listen,
about cleaning my toilets. So
I don't clean our toilet. My
oh,
husband,
you're lucky.
I make my husband. I'm like this. I'll do everything else. Just you do this. I can't. So yeah, I feel really grateful for that.
That's a good one though. But again, even that, like in your marriage, like the splitting of duties type thing. Like Tracy doesn't clean the toilets or take out the trash. I do those things. She does other things. Like we have, and again too. Everybody knows my schedule. I'm at home a lot more than Mrs. Pip is because of her schedule of regular like weekday people work, which I don't know how people do those types of jobs, but hey, God, go with God, friends. You all do it. But I have to pick up that slack, right? And or not, I shouldn't have to say slack, but I have to do those things. That's part of what is my being. I'm not always the best at getting them done in the time frame she would like me to, but I do try. And that again too goes with this topic that I think we're really on, and that's this growth, right? And I saw that in a post you made, the post you made today, and maybe in a post you made about 2 days ago, just about the foundation and how you raise money and things.
Yeah, that has been such a boy. The foundation has been such a journey, and I'm I I love EMF, and I love EMF most now. I think in this place where we are today with me and where I am today, we are the strongest, the most secure, the most helpful, the most stable, and the most grounded we have ever been. And really, EMF flows with how I'm doing. And because I'm doing so well now, the foundation has just blossomed. And we are doing so much. I mean, it's every day for me. I have to be conscious about turning everything off so that I can have a life outside of the nonprofit, like riding my horses or being with my family or just being at home and doing the simple things like we were talking about. It's like I can't always be in that, but there's the capacity, the foundation has the capacity for that need. So it's been a big journey to get us here because I left the Eric Marsh Foundation. I was still on the board and I was still part of the nonprofit, but I was not as active as I had been starting in about 2020 and moving into August of 2024. Because I really needed to tuck into my own life so that I could become a whole human being again. And in 2020, I can't believe it. I look back on that and I'm like, that's just 7 years after the boys died. But I needed, right? Isn't that crazy? Like
It is.
it is. It's a
And
weird
it is.
concept.
It isn't though, right? Because what you did by starting the foundation for the boys and for the future, for firefighters present and their families, not really just for the boys, but in memory of them. And what people don't always realize when foundations that are born out of tragedy are started is that you are constantly reliving that tragedy through the good that you're doing for others. And that shit is hard. And I've never done that, but I have seen so many people and been involved with so many people who have. And 7 years is a long time that you were able to do that consistently.
And, there were some experiences prior to 2020 where I was being of service inside the foundation that really affected me. And it wasn't the fault of those incidences. It was that I didn't have my feet on the ground, and I didn't have myself around me quite yet. And I'm grateful that I was in those situations, and I'm grateful that I was present, able to help. But man, it takes a bite out of you, and that bite isn't just healed over. That bite leaves scars, and I still have those thoughts in my mind. Like, I can still see those images and the places I've been and the funerals I went to and the people I talked to and the people I lost. And you know, I talk a lot about that, and I don't have an answer to that. And I just think that um being aware and acknowledging that, and also, like I wrote this morning, acknowledging that I carry enough already, and I don't have to carry what doesn't truly belong to me. And what belongs to me is Yarnell, and what belongs to me are my people who have passed away since that time, because I've lost a lot of people since then. And what belongs to me are my family and my friends. And that is really important to remember. It's like I am I am a huge part of Yarnell, and I'm also something else. And that something else has to be more important, more focused on for myself, as a token, as a gesture, as a deeper affection for myself and a love for myself. It's like, is it that I'm in the past or I'm in the present? And living in the present is a beautiful place to be. And being able to visit the past and know that I can tap into that is also affecting and honoring and beautiful.
That was so well said. It's hard to follow up with that, right? Where because no one ever thinks of this, right? When we're in this industry, in the emergency services and in any of them, and we have a loss, when that loss occurs, everyone is outpouring towards that person, that crew, that department, that family, and that loss lasts forever. And so many folks like yourself want to help others and then tend to even forget a little bit about helping themselves or just how important that end of it would be. And it makes it harder. And I lived through that with my own department and with being part of the Jimmy D Foundation and running the 5K with Erin. And when she decided to stop the 5K, after 10 years, and a lot of folks were not happy about this, like we should keep going, and reminding them of what that day meant for her and what this foundation means for her. And as much good as you have done, it still brings up those old wounds, and that growth is really, really helping you. And I think stepping away, I mean, listen, again, different kind of same ballpark, different story, but stepping away from 555 and putting it on hold like we did, I still struggle with that. And I still want to get back into doing it. I just don't know how we're going to do that. And for you, that step away is what you needed for you to be able to come back to is even more stronger. So I'm super, super proud of you for that and those kind of 3.5, 4 years there of doing that work.
Yeah, I had to go back to my job. I went back into the farrier service, and I worked for about 2 years on that. And then I was able to retire on my own free will, instead of Yarnell being what caused me to retire back in 2013. So that always felt like a broken piece to me, and like something I wasn't able to finish. And so I was given that opportunity to finish that for myself. And then I got injured, and had to leave that job. And I was so grateful and ready to leave that by the time I was injured, I actually dismantled my business 30 minutes after I got in my truck and was driving home. my business
And
was
that was
done.
it.
I was completely finished within about a week and a half. That was completely it. And I also, I'm a photographer. I'm a Western photographer, and I was able to um, take photographs again, and was juried into a really incredible art show here in Prescott. So knowing that I actually can pursue that if I want to, knowing that I am actually talented enough that I could sell my photographs in a much larger way than I do. But knowing that that's not my path right now also was a gift because it doesn't feel like something that I lost in all of it. It feels like a choice that I was able to make. And so by the time I came back to EMF, I had been given the freedom to heal some broken pieces, to explore things about myself, and to know that there's a path forward in different ways if I so choose. But it became that EMF was my choice. I came back to EMF absolutely by my own choice. And it was hard. Um, there was a lot to do, and there's still a lot to do, and there will always be a lot to do. And now it feels like I'm here, like I said, by my own choice, instead of feeling like there's something I have to do, that I'm obligated. I feel profoundly happy to be here and very, very rested and grounded in this space.
And that obligation, right, that you're talking about, that when you started EMF, that is something that even gets the folks who do my job. You feel so obligated to being the best firefighter or paramedic or cop or wildland firefighter, whatever term you want to do. It's obligation. It's obligation. And it's so easy
Obligation
to get
and duty.
lost down that. Yeah. That call to duty, right? And we see so many of our folks struggling with that. And I wish there was a way to kind of make it so they didn't go down that road. Make it so no one has to go down that road with that obligation. And I know I felt it, like I definitely had a time in my career already where like my fire department was not going to function if I was not there. And the same for 555 wasn't going to function if I was not there. Even recently with the podcast, I took off. Like I told you, I haven't recorded as much recently because we took off for the holidays, going to Australia and just a break. And knowing when you need these breaks to be present in your own life and just to kind of step away, again, that's growth, right? That's what we all need.
Absolutely. I mean, even last night when I got home, even over the weekend, I had to shut it down. And I still did things. There were pockets of time. Like yesterday, I was really busy doing stuff, but it was a lot. I had to shut her down, go to bed, and it felt really good to be able to make that decision. To just shut down, know that I had done enough work in that moment, in that time, in the day, in the week, and to be free to let myself rest. And I was never like that before. I was full throttle all the
Oh, you just froze there for a second after rest, so I didn't hear what you said.
I was saying that I allowed myself to rest, and then that it just didn't feel like the obligation. I didn't feel like that obligation was there to keep moving, to keep going. Just even in the last couple of days, it's like you have to get to a place where you're good with what you've done, where you know that you've been enough.
Where were you when we started 555? Because this is like a master class on how to run a not-for-profit in the emergency services.
I was a mess back when you started 555. I was
Yeah.
a mess. I needed intervention myself. It was rough.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but
know. I mean, I remember all the conversations we've had, and things you've shared with me off air and more privately about that. And for all good reason, but these are things that we as in my world on the emergency services side, we need to always be cognizant of for our family members,
yes,
right? We always need to be cognizant that there are going to be people left behind if something is to happen to us. And for me, Tracy has been on
we're
this
still
this
breaking
journey
up
with me
quite a
now
bit.
for
You're breaking up.
What's that?
You're breaking
Oh
up.
no, I'm breaking up. I don't know why our internet is so bad today. It's
Now we're
like
back.
brand new program, bad internet. It's kind of that preparation for them. Like Tracy has been with me now since I've been a career firefighter, so she's been a part of this journey. The boys are younger and they have to be prepared differently for anything. But I think that's just a big part of what we're all learning in life. And it's not just being prepared for loss, it's just being prepared for what could possibly happen.
Yeah, and if we're constantly in that go mode, if our system is just constantly trashed, then we have no capacity for anything that's coming. And I learned that back when my dad died, at the end of 2021. Eric's mom had a heart attack several years prior, and my dad had health issues too. And they were really intertwined in their. Can you hear me?
Oh no, you're back now.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say that.
Nope, I saw you were texting. You were saying about Eric's mom and your dad.
Yeah, so back in 2021, my family died again. I lost Eric's mom, my dad. My dad was diagnosed with leukemia, and then soon after, that was in October, and in November, mid-November, Eric's mom was in the hospital, and she perished of pneumonia, and I was with her. And then 6 weeks after Jane passed away, my dad passed away, and I was with him. And my whole family was there. And then 3 weeks after my dad passed away, my main riding mare died. And it was horrible. It was a really awful time of my life. And I just went down into a further deep hole. And then I came out of it and carry that with me too. And what it taught me is that I have to really enjoy and find peace in the good times, because our times are still coming. We don't, just because we've been through one or two really hard things doesn't mean we're not going to go through any more. Like, I have more loss ahead of me. I have more things that I have to deal with. That's just play the odds, and that's what our future holds. And so I want to build my life, populate my life with really great memories, really amazing things that I've been able to do. And if I allow all of the problems of the world and all of the traumas and all the stuff in wildland fire to keep affecting me in a negative way, I will never build the life that I truly want and deserve to have. And I will never be able to give to my family and my friends and my animals and myself anything other than Amanda in trauma. And I don't want that for myself. I can certainly feel things. I have so much compassion for what's going on in California. My gosh, I can't even fathom that. I grew up in Southern California. I rock climbed and surfed all over Southern California. I know exactly those areas that are affected, and I see the before and after photographs, and I just can't even process it. I was texting with a friend yesterday, and he told me that 40 people he knows lost homes in the fires, and it just breaks my heart, But on the other token, it's like these things happen, and we have to be good with ourselves and in our own lives so that we can be of service to other people.
Well, I think too, in a true testament to you, when you had those losses in your family and you went into that hole, you went down into that hole with a ladder and a toolbox this time. As opposed to when the tragedy happened in Yarnell there, where there was no ladder, there was no toolbox, it just happened. And those are things that, to a testament to your character, you were able to use those tools and use that ladder. And it may not have happened overnight because, nothing happens overnight, right? But you're able to do that. And it's something that, again, I feel like with this podcast and kind of what I'm doing now is I want people to get those tools from my guest, from listening to your story. And you don't even know what's in your toolbox. I have no idea what's in my toolbox. But I know if I go down into a hole these days from all the things that I've seen and done, I know there's a ladder there. And maybe I'll find some tools on the way up. But whatever it's gonna take, I'm gonna get back out of it. And for you as well, in the not-for-profit that you run, all of these wildland fires, you were saying, they can become your fire very rapidly. And that's something you can't let happen. And it's not easy, especially when you start to hear about the loss.
Right.
And even worse when like you've lived there, that area. I was up in Reading a few years ago, and that was the first time I've ever seen true wildland fire devastation of just whole neighborhoods. And in an interesting turn for the listeners out there, because I know nothing about wildland firefighting until I met Amanda and some of the folks she introduced me to. And interesting enough, when we went on the hike with Rudy's now a firefighter. And I've actually been following his post, and the things that he taught me that day changed the way I look at wildland fires. But one of the things that really affected me was when we were working out in Reading. The folks that were running the CrossFit event were actually Reading police officers. So, sometimes firefighters and cops can get along. We got along with them really well. We did our best. But being out to dinner with them and listening to their stories about doing evacuations and having to abandon their cars and run with the people they were evacuating with, my group of firefighters that I was with, we all just were in awestruck, like never really thinking about that as being a thing. And these fires for again, folks who are not intimately or involved in them, you just see it on TV, they destroy everything. And, with this California fire, seeing those before and after pictures like you spoke of, there's nothing there anymore.
I mean, entire communities. I was the same friend I was texting with yesterday said something. It's like the size of 3 Manhattans worth of devastation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in one. I think just in one fire. It's just unreal, and that's it's hard to wrap your mind around it. It's hard to wrap your brain around what people are going through, and yeah, it's just compassion. I just have so much compassion and so much love for them.
And that's what you need, right? Because again, there was the documentary Fire in Paradise, and then Rebuilding Paradise, the second part of that. And, we as structural firefighters, I've lost houses, all of people's possessions. I've lost a few houses in a fire. I've lost sort of a block of houses one time that I was at a fire at. But when you think about your entire community, and then what are you going to do? Because there is no school to go to. There is no church to pray at. There is no 7-Eleven or whatever's in California. There are no places. And right now, like you said, that compassion is all that's needed. Right? We just have to, and I hate to be the thoughts and prayers guy because, we can do things. There's loads of GoFundMe's out there. There's loads of reputable charities, and you should definitely do that. But for now, it's just a matter of maybe being an ear to listen to for folks, and just keeping them kind of in a good place to try to think about what their future is going to look like, regardless of who they are, whether they're a celebrity or they are, just a family of blue collar workers there. Everyone is going to have to process this in their own way for a very long time.
There's going to be entire communities that are never going to come back. And those communities
Yes.
they will never be the same. They will never have the same people. It will never be the same sounds, the same vehicles, the same trees, the same houses, the same memories that people have grown up with. It will always be something else. And, that's not something that any of those people signed up for. It is something that hit them all of a sudden in the most traumatic ways. And yeah, exactly like you said, it doesn't matter if it's just a regular old guy on the street or if it's a celebrity. It doesn't matter. Trauma is real and it is layered, and these things affect people. And having compassion and love and just if that's all you can do, then that's it. That's a good place to stay. Like, don't have an opinion. Don't form a thought other than, I have so much compassion and love for the people who are going through this. And allow God to work through you. Put you in the right
Wouldn't that be
position
great?
to say the right thing. Be there.
Don't form an opinion. Like, there's no reason to be negative about anything, whether it's about how much water was there or why the water wasn't there, or what anyone is doing. Like, when you see, and look, you've been in this game just as long as I have, right? And when you see other pages run by firefighters just spewing negativity about a situation they know nothing about, have nothing, and you're able to do it from your phone wherever the hell you are in the world, right? Where you got guys sleeping on the concrete while another guy is using the little bit of water they have to protect a house. I just don't see how that helps.
It's just such a part of our humanity, unfortunately. And I am sensitive to it because of Yarnell and the negativity that has come at me and our families because of Yarnell. And there's so much misinformation and so much opinion, and there's a lack of knowledge because there are questions that can never be answered. And
Sure.
when you have a hole like that, people need to fill it, and they fill it with whatever they can make up. And I'm speaking clearly and directly of Yarnell. And that can be super affecting to the people who are going through it. Like, our families are going to go through Yarnell the rest of our lives. And it's an intergenerational trauma because there are children and there will be grandchildren of guys someday. And there's a lack of compassion for us. There's so much compassion for us, and yet there's a small pocket where compassion is bravely lacking. And I feel the effects of that. And I have certainly taken the brunt of that, and I've done it by choice because I would rather go through it. I would rather take it than one of our kids. I want to go through it. If anybody has to go through it, I will bear it. And that's a real hard thing to go through. And obviously it's emotional for me. But I just can't bear. I can't bear them to get hurt. And so when we talk about misinformation about California fires and the negativity that's out there. There are boots on the ground that are working. I mean, I don't even know what their hours are like right now.
Yeah, you can't even fathom it, right? Being in emergency services, yeah, like those guys probably never went home yet. I mean, it's been so. Yeah, so I guess we're at where we're recording today. We're probably at day 5, I think, since the initial fire took off. And just like to think about that again as a structural firefighter, right? I go to a house fire and we're done in a few hours, where now we're on day 5. And the news this morning is reporting high winds again. So knowing that the wind has been the biggest issue there, because they can't fly. They can't do water jobs. They can't get to where they need to get to. Just is again, I don't know. I have no words for it because it's unfathomable. And I am happy to know people like you are already trying to do good before. There's already a lot of folks out there doing good, and I can name drop people left and right out there that if you're looking for something to buy or something, I know the money's going there. But I know EMF is kind of gearing up now for what's to come, because again, a lot of folks are that, oh, there's a problem, let's fix it today. There's a need, I can raise money, here's the money, and then I have to move on to the next one. But where you guys are going to be with this probably for a very long time, I can imagine.
Yeah, and it's finding the right organizations, right, that are actually working with and for the guys that are boots on the ground right now. And as much as the Eric Marsh Foundation is there for these guys for years to come, and for all wildland firefighters, all structure firefighters that are involved in this wildland fire, wildfires from the past, we're there for everybody. But EMF isn't the right portal for this fire. And instead of pretending that we are, and taking money that should never come to us. We are not doing that. So what I'm going to be putting out on our social media is the right place to put the money. And
You almost make me want to cry now because I know what that's about,
yeah,
right? Like 555 was not the portal people wanted it to be for what they wanted it to be for, right? And for EMF, even me thinking like, oh yeah, you are. But then I think about it for another second. And I'm like, no, you're not, because that's not what your main tenet is. And then running a not-for-profit and sticking to your main tenet, not, and I'm not trying to bash anybody in the not-for-profit world, but like the quick profit, you know what I mean? Like to take this up, but to find the places for people to go to and to partner with the places that are doing that right thing. And then maybe one day down the road, because of this fire, EMF may be the right portal for someone to seek assistance from, right?
absolutely. That's the thing. We want to always position ourselves in the right place. And that takes a lot of integrity, where our message has to always be the same. We are not flashy. We're nothing like that. We are this tiny little nonprofit in Prescott, Arizona, that is 1, 2, 3 rooms and a hallway and a bathroom. And we have me and an employee, and we have a board, and that's it. And we do a lot with just what we have. And I am grateful for the opportunity and the ability to do as much as we do. But if we step out of our lane, we are going to lose our path. And EMF shouldn't ever lose its path. And I love our nonprofit, and I love the fire community too much, and I love myself too much to ever put myself in a position where I lose my own integrity, my own way. EMF works with wildland firefighters who have gone through trauma on the fire line. We help guys that have been injured on the fire line, and we help with mental health. And that's what we do. So there's other organizations that directly are going to be benefiting and have been working hard to benefit these guys. There's a lot of money that has been going into places that these firefighters will never see it. And that's something where I don't want Eric Marsh Foundation to ever be that. That's not us, and that's not me. And so I'm going to always be like, you know what? Thank you. That's so sweet. And we love that you think of us that way and you trust us. But let me take a pause here and make sure that there's not a better app. And so that's what I was able to do in putting money into the right place. So actually, I think I'm going to be bypassing us with some donations for some firefighters over in the South that want to donate to the firefighters in LA. It's just not us. We're impressed with Arizona.
And that's such a big thing. And too, for, the structural folks out there who, again, like me, nothing about wildland firefighting, aside from urban wildland interface 3-hour class that you take about it. And, a lot of the wildland firefighters out there, their benefits package is not what a normal municipal career firefighters would be, or even a volunteer firefighters injury type benefit or mental health type benefits that we have now. And I know in my time on the job, they've all increased, and I'm hoping that they've increased in the wildland community a bit, I would imagine. I'm not up on it like I was when you first told me all the things you told me about not having it. I was beyond shocked. So I'm hoping they've come a little bit further.
Yeah, and I think that there are better. I think that's still a pretty big struggle. And there's a nonprofit called Grassroots that's been working on that. And I put so much gratitude into their arms, because they work tirelessly to try and change policy and to get politics changed, to change people's minds about, in DC, about the significance of our wildland firefighters. These guys are not even considered firefighters. They're considered range techs. And I'm going to tell you that I have a master's degree in range, and I am a range tech. They are not range techs. It's a completely different thing. As a range tech, I studied botanical research and created data about rangelands for cattle and wildlife. I did not dig fire lines, so it's very
It
different.
it boggles my mind that you're saying this still because
Right.
like every year we just see even now. So I have 3 wildland firefighters that I'm trying to get on episodes of the show. And fire season doesn't end.
Never.
Right? It's like, oh, when fire season's over in December, I'll get on the show with you. Okay, cool. And then, I took my own little sabbatical, so let's blame me for this one. But now, guess where they all are?
Right.
They are all in California. Like, they all messaged me, like, not going to happen this month. I'm on my way to California.
Yeah.
And then when you think about our folks in DC, how do you not see this? How, and listen, there's lots of things in society that need to be changed. But
Absolutely.
for something like this, like at this point in that, I just don't get it. And it's great to have a not-profit like Grassroots, because I wrote them down so I can check them out too. But like trying to advocate for these folks, because I thought another not to really get off too far off topic, and again we're getting into that time where I'm like, we can talk forever and it's about an hour, but there are so many structural firefighters fighting this fire now because they're structure fires and they're in the city and county of Los Angeles, as opposed to some of the wildland fires where they're just sending out strike teams and yeah, the structural guys are going. But this was again like a totally different beast. There was a great guy on, I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or one of those shows, and he was like, there's not enough fire engines in the world to put this fire out. Like, and he's right. There's not enough water in the world. There's not enough anything.
And that's the thing, is that we have created such a problem because so many people live in what we call the wildland urban interface, and that's what's happening in California. And it's and I don't want to say that in a negative way, because I also live in the wildland urban interface. All my friends live in Prescott is the wildland urban interface. It's where we live now, but we have created a huge problem because our communities are right in the middle of where these fires occur. And because we have communities there, it's very difficult to, it's very difficult. It's the politics, and it's the policies, and it's the restrictions, and it's where the houses are that are.
It's the understanding, right? It's all about understanding in this,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have to understand that if you put your house here, or we put houses here,
Yeah.
this could happen,
But
right?
we also have to understand that we all don't live or don't have the capacity to live where these things don't happen. In
Yes.
the East, tell me what happens to you guys in New Jersey. What happens in New York City?
So again, New York City, very different place. But in New Jersey this year, we went almost 2 solid months without rain, right? I mean, it was dry. We were under red flag warnings every day, and we did have some smaller wildland fires, maybe that burned acres, not hundreds. I can't tell you how much, right? But when people here asking me questions about what's happening in California, I quickly remind them that we were literally a bad wind day away from something like that happening to a community here in New Jersey. And we are probably not equipped to handle it either, just like LA isn't. On a smaller scale, of course, because we don't have as much. But when you say that, they're like, no, that's impossible. And I just kind of look back like, well, why did you ask me? Because they said it was impossible in LA too. And this is it. So trying to get that understanding out, that these things can happen, just like you can have a mass loss of life in wildland firefighting. You could have a mass loss of life in structural firefighting, where years ago people never really wanted to think about that. So we have to look for good coming out of this, and hope that some things change, at least for the better, and that the folks that are out there, they're going to have a really hard time, but that they can continue to move forward with it.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is like, how do we catch all the people? And for EMF, it's how do we catch all the firefighters? What can we do to make to make their lives better and manageable, how can we be supportive? Because holy moly, it's terrible. This is going to be terrible. And it's not their fault. This is not their fault. This is a terrible situation. An act of God, Mother Nature, this is what it is. And this is the situation that these people have found themselves in. And it's terrible. It's absolutely life altering. And if we can't appreciate that, then bad on us, because this is absolutely devastating to a lot of people. And for other nonprofits, it will be the civilians. And for other nonprofits, it's their animals. And everybody has a piece to play here. Other nonprofits, it's the police and the sheriffs and all of that. We all have a piece, and if we all have integrity and we all stay in the lane that we need to be in, we can help a lot of people. And for EMF, it's never about rushing in and creating the splash and doing that. For us, it's about taking the long road and just knowing that we might not have the calls right now, but we're going to have them later. And we have had calls, we have had messages, and there are things that we can do. I'll be working on those this summer.
Well, I've kept you long enough because you clearly just told me you have work to do. So stop talking, Pip. Like,
okay. I have to go get my blood drawn.
That's the polite Arizona way to be like, hey, I'm looking at the time too, and you're gonna keep talking to me forever. I do though. I'm not gonna. This has been amazing. First off, before we get to the Size Up 10, you do have something coming up though, in a shameless plug, or not even shameless plug, but right, you're going to be speaking at a virtual conference.
Yeah, so Hot Shot Wellness Conference, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I do know it's in February, and
it's like the 11th to the 14th, I think, if I recall.
The lineup speakers is amazing. So I am the least amazing on that list. So really, people need to check that out, and it's free. So I can share the link with you, Pip, if you don't have it, and you can maybe put it in the show notes. But
for sure,
get something for people to really, really broadcast and really be a part of, because this is all about wellness in the fire service, and
not just, and again, it's not just for wildland folks. No. I mean, that's the basis of it. But come on, let's face it, we can all use more wellness and more ways to cope and more ways to learn and to be better. And look, before you know it, you may have a wildland fire in your own community. Like this, the way society is going, right? And again, New Jersey does have wildland fires. They're not where I work per se, but they are where I live. We had one last summer. I mean, you could see the smoke from my house, and my wife was like, "Should we be concerned?" And I was like, "I don't think so, but if I think so, then we'll talk about what we need to do." You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. But so I'm excited, and it's free, which is the best thing ever. I guess it's run through a not-for-profit or something.
They're not a nonprofit, but they are working to become so. But they're just,
which we both know is not easy. So
it's not easy, and they're just stellar humans. Really, really appreciating our connection and getting to know them further, and being asked, such an honor to be asked to be part of anything like that. So yeah, I'm grateful, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be signing up to see everybody talk. So this isn't just about my time in front of everybody. I want to be there to support everybody and just to take everything in like a sponge.
It's awesome. That is so great of you. And so I got your shameless plug in. I want to make a shameless plug though for Prescott, Arizona, because Amanda had us out there many years ago, definitely pre-2019, pre-pandemic, I know that much. And we loved the area out there. I mean, it was great that we had the best local guide possible, but it was one of those things that if you listen to my episode with Jeremy about our Australia trip, Tracy came out with me, not the boys, they were way too young. But I wanted her to meet Amanda and to kind of experience all of what we did while we were out there. But just that area I can't wait to go back. And Sebi, our audio engineer who does all the magic behind the scenes for us, was just out there in the beginning of December, so like the same time, and was like, Pip, I know you were there, but you got to go to Jerome. And I'm like, I went to Jerome. I was like, believe it or not, like I was sent there by happenstance by our great friends. And he was like, wasn't it the best little place? So I just wanted to let you know how much I love Arizona and our time spent with you.
Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And yes, it is a really special place, and people should come visit. But nobody should come here to move anymore. There are far too many people here. So, book a plane trip, a round trip plane trip.
Spoken like a true local. I love it. That I love. And we're moving on to the size up 10.
Yeah,
Like I was gonna say, go do the hike. Go do the hike. We don't have to talk about that, but that's it. Book yourself a round trip plane ticket. Don't move there.
That's right.
Can I come when I retire? Can I come temporarily? I promise I won't stay forever. We'll stay like 4 or 5 months.
There you go.
Temporarily. I promise.
That's
just
right
a few. Awesome. Also, too, where can the folks find you? Where are they? Where can they find you guys?
Oh,
before I forget.
Well, we have a website, ericmarshfoundation.org. That's ericmarshfoundation.org. We're also on Instagram at Eric Marsh Foundation Fire, and we are on Facebook at Eric Marsh Foundation. So come find us, and all kinds of good stuff happening around here.
There is, and it is a great page to follow, sharing. And honestly, it's one of the ways I keep in touch with Amanda, because she shares so much about herself and her journey on there that I kind of like, some days I'm like, let me send you a text real quick because I saw you posted something for a different reason. So thank you for sharing so much too.
Oh, I'm grateful there's an audience to receive it.
Isn't that the worst part of social media these days? It's not like it was when we started, where everybody sees that you posted. Even if they want to see it, they still can't see it. So
that's true.
Banging our heads against the wall.
Problem.
It'll get better. I have faith. All right, you ready for the size up 10? These are actually going to be interesting for you, being I do know some things about you, so like I'm excited to hear your answers about these.
All right, some trivia.
Yeah, trivia. It's personal trivia, we could call it. I gotta get Sebi to play the trivia music maybe when I announce it. I need like music going.
All right, let's go.
Here we go. Number 1, beach or mountains? Which do you prefer?
Mountains.
Well, see, I knew you were a surfer girl though, so I was wondering if you would resort back to those days.
Oh, no, I like riding my horses.
A night out or a night in?
Oh, I'm definitely a morning person. I like to have my experiences with my friends.
Yeah. No one has answered that question with I'm a morning person, so let's just leave it at that.
I mean, it is not strange for me to be awake at 3 a.m. And be going all day. I go to bed like around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, crashed out, and wake up about 3 a.m. So that's
well, the first time ever answered a number 2, morning person. Got it.
Morning person, yes.
How about a movie everyone should see?
Only the Brave.
Yeah, I was gonna keep going. I'm like, you can't say the one that you're in, sort of, but we'll go with Only the Brave. Great movie. I got to meet the producer. Right, he was the producer, if I recall. In the opening scene, giving the helicopter a thumbs up. I'll never forget that. Great. In my top 5 best 555 experiences was my trip out with you, between the gala, the folks that I had with me, and the hike with you the following day. So I can't thank you enough. All right, you're leaving Arizona. You're in a car. You're on a cross-country road trip somehow from Arizona, and you need a celebrity co-pilot. Who's it going to be?
I don't know. Diane Keaton, because she wears really cute clothes. She always looks really rad in her suits. And I think that she has a great personality. So if I could have her as my co-pilot talking to me the whole way, I would just ask her a lot of questions.
Diane Keaton does wear some killer suits. I've seen some pictures of her. The second you said it, I ran through some shots and she's got the suit thing happening. So I'm in. Diane Keaton.
Yeah.
And she's been in so many great things too. She's had a really good career that never was I guess recognized, right? I'm not sure she's been this big award winner or anything like that.
I think she has in some ways, but I think what I love about her is she just has consistency. She's never really been one of those people that has had a lot of drama around her either.
Sure.
So yeah, she just seems really cool. She seems
First time. First Diane Keaton ever, so you got that one for you.
good.
So when you wake up at 3 a.m., do you make your bed every day?
No, because my husband is still in it.
Good reason.
So he
Good
makes his
reason.
bed every day. He makes the bed every morning. Sometimes I'll have to do it, but he's not a 3 a.m. waker upper unless he has to.
Me neither. How about a book everyone needs to read?
There is a really cool book. Um, you know, one of my favorite books for my whole life actually is To Kill a Mockingbird. I love that book. That
Classic.
that is a classic book. It is a beautiful book, and it really shaped my life. In fact, and this is kind of a sad thing, but my mare who died after my dad, her name was Scout. I named her after Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Well, then that is definitely a book everyone should read. I do love having a high school age son because he's reading all the, even middle school, they read some books that I remembered, but it's great to go back to those.
Yep.
And kind of be like, and Kill a Mockingbird, it's not, I'm not going to lie to you. I think I read the Cliff Notes. I think I had the yellow
Cool.
Cliff's Notes for that one in high school, but
But you said it right, Cliff's Notes instead of
Cliff's Notes. They are Cliff's Notes,
Yeah.
yes. Children don't know what those are these days, but that's
No.
okay. It's probably better that they read. I don't want my kids to know what they are.
Yeah, right. You're like, it's okay to read it. You could just
Read the book. I am blessed. Both of my boys do really enjoy reading, which and they are very very attuned to what the book means, which I don't know if it's a little bit of me, a little bit of my wife, but when I was their age, I was not as attuned to like, what really was going on in The Outsiders. I just thought it was cool they were fighting and things like that.
I should go back and read
We're,
that book.
It's a good one. Yeah. I actually, when he read it, I reread it. And then we watched the movie again. And now we have to go see the play on Broadway. So that's our next shot for The Outsiders. All right, where are we at? Number 7. Which one are you taking? Highways or back roads?
Back roads.
Or ways? How about a bucket list place you would like to visit?
I am blessed that I have been a lot of places. So right now, oddly enough, what's on my list is Taos, New Mexico. I really want to go to Taos, New Mexico.
Because just beautiful?
Beautiful,
I guess.
and I haven't been. I've been
Okay.
a lot of other places, and that has always been sort of on my mind, and it's just one that hasn't been checked off yet. So my husband and I were talking about that, and I was like, I want to go to Taos. And he said, we'll go to Taos. Another one would be Austin, Texas. Marfa, Texas, believe it or not, I really want to go to. Marfa is a little artist community that I don't know much about, but I tend to not know everything about the places I go, and I just get wildly surprised when I get there. Like I said, I don't plan well.
That's so awesome. I want to go to Austin. I've seen Austin on enough food shows that like I want to eat my way around Austin for sure.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I would love to. Yeah. So those are a few things, but I've done a lot of travel, so I really feel good to be home.
Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, 2 more. This one, I don't know. I don't know how this one's going to work for you, but is it football for you or football? Which one do you want to watch more? Or neither?
Soccer. Football.
You're in.
I played
Football,
soccer.
the beautiful game.
Yeah, I played soccer when I was growing up, and I was actually really good at it. So if I am going to watch any kind of sports on television, that I wouldn't choose to watch sports on TV actually, but if I landed on one and I needed to kill some time, I would choose soccer.
Nice. All right, the last one, and I don't know. Again, like I don't know why I asked this because my guests spend their whole episode basically doing this, but how about the best advice you could give to your younger self?
Everything's going to be okay. It's going to suck. Things are going to be really hard. There's stuff that's going to happen to you that you have no control over. You're going to say things and do things that you're going to regret, and you're going to be grateful that there was no iPhone to capture those moments. And 50 is probably going to be your best decade. 50s are going to be your best decade. I am 49 and a half. and
And
about
a
to
half.
get into my 50. And that half is important because I need the next 6 months to gear up to turning 50. But I think 50s are going to be my best decade. And yeah, just tuck in, man. Suck your thumb when you need to, and be close to the people who love you. Have a lot of grace for yourself, and don't get stuck. And if you do, it's okay. Just don't get stuck too long.
Listeners, she did not know these questions prior to me asking, and that was the fastest and best answer to number 10 I have had in all of these episodes. So thank you, and the most honest about life. And I cannot wait to see what your 50s bring for you, because I'm getting closer to it too, but I'm way off. I don't need to. I'm not counting halves yet.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I'm actually, yeah, I'm letting myself go there.
You have to, right? We have to.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm excited. I was excited for my 40s, right?
Look at this.
And
I'm letting the gray all
you
go
should
in.
shave the sides, because then the grays go away. That's
Oh no, I'm gonna
where
rock
mine
it.
all are.
I can't
You're
dye
gonna
my
rock
hair
it?
anymore. I am now going to allow myself to be in my 50s with my actual natural hair color, which is it.
Nice.
Anyway,
Do
you
it.
were
I
saying.
love it. No, I shaved my grays out on the side. So
I did it.
no, I really looked forward for my 40s, and again, I feel like my 40s were great, but I think my 50s are going to be even better. And I think, like I said, I'm excited to see where yours take you, and to be a small part of that journey in any way that I can, because any way we can help is what we do, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. Everyone, go check them out. Eric Mark Foundation, Eric Marsh Foundation online. It's interesting that I have my Mercedes hose Be Legendary shirt on today, which if you're watching, you could kind of see. But when you talk about an Aussie word that I learned that they use to describe folks, Amanda is just straight legend in my book. So until next time, this is Pip for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters.
National Fire Radio.